Yeah. Oh, hey, yo, everyone. Welcome. This is Jam in the Freedom Lab from Peaceful Media, and I've got my friend, Dr. Carrie Rose here, the brilliant methodology professor behind how to create courses, market courses, get the idea out of your head and into the world so you can start monetizing your expertise. And welcome, Dr. Carrie Rose.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
She's got the beautiful Florida glow.
Oh,
And
yeah.
despite all of our tech difficulties this morning, our normal Freedom Lab technology has just gone bonkers. So we're over here on Zoom, and I'll upload this to YouTube after the fact. But if you're here for the first time, this whole season has been basically the Freedom Lab is all designated to help just share our behind the scenes of how we market and create courses, create brands, market those brands and get them out in the world. And this season in particular is really all designed to help you, just what I was describing earlier, all the things that Carrie specializes in that whole, like, from scratch, from market research to coming up with the course promise to the deliverables to the hooks, the benefits, the features, to your course outline, to doing a first beta launch, to doing the live launch, to doing the evergreen version of the launch, the automated sequence, all the way to driving traffic. In a few episodes ago, we talked about doing some Facebook ads and driving eyeballs over to everything that you're offering. And so there's no better person to bring in than the professor. She's made a career out of studying how to not only get people into your courses and create courses, but also to make them stick. If you're watching a previous episode in this season, she came on and just lit people up with some quick hitting facts and ideas for how to launch courses. And I figured, let's loop back around, Carrie, and talk about everything that you've been discovering over the last few months, because someone in this room has been writing a book on this topic. And I think it's going to be one of the most authoritative online course books out there, because she's studying and researching and interviewing the very best in the industry.
Yourself included.
Yeah, right. We'll see if I'm one of the best here next year when the book comes out. Are you intending to have that book come out next year?
The intention was for me to have it finished by December, but I just, for my purposes, I want it to be as robust as possible, which means I want to interview as many people as possible. And so that process takes a little time. So at some point next year, it will be done.
Yeah. And then we were really brief last time on introducing you. Can you just kind of describe for everyone your journey from I believe you grew up with a little bit of technical difficulty, we'll call it. Your learning style.
Yeah, I had a few hiccups growing up. So I basically had a traumatic experience and blacked out around 4 years old, and somehow woke up at 10. I mean, I was still awake, but not speaking. I had something called selective mutism. So I really just didn't talk at that point. And then also I still have dyslexia. So it's something that I work through now, but at least I understand. But at the time I didn't. And so I went through most of elementary school just not participating and not reading, not having any access to any information, and just kind of, if by today's standards, I would have been held back for 2 years, just knowing what they do in the education system, and probably in prison. If we look at what would have happened statistically, that's it. But I had one teacher that really changed all that. And she took me from not talking and not reading to the highest standardized test scores that school had seen in 1 year. Which was just that was hugely powerful, and really inspired me when I entered in the world of education to see how I could be essentially Mrs. Taylor for everybody. I took in every child that had any problem whatsoever. So I taught a ton of students with, they don't call it dyslexia now, or they don't label it as, but auditory processing issues. So you teach them the same way. I taught deaf and hard of hearing. I taught autistic. I taught all sorts of behavioral issues. and really just with an obsession for learning strategies, an obsession for how did she do that with me and how can I do that with them?
Right.
And what really works to engage the brain and engage the mind.
Talk about a sort of, not necessarily a tragedy, but you were given some tough circumstances when it comes to learning, but talk about turning that into a total triumph and then sharing that gift and everything that you've gone through your journey and inspiring others. And I got to say, like, you know, there's so many people, you see this, Carrie, you see people out there talking about how to, you know, package up a course and market the course and, you know, sell courses, increasing your conversions. But so few people out there are talking about how to, like you were just talking about, how to make that stick, how to actually teach people and create transformation through our courses is not talked about.
No, not at all. And I think it's probably a detriment to the industry, honestly.
Absolutely.
If you look at course completion rate, Seth Godin said they're around 3%. I've heard 5. So 3 to 5% of people are completing the courses that they're buying and spending upwards of like $2,000 on the course and still like, 97, 95% not finishing it, like not getting out of it what they wanted. And this is going to affect the industry to some degree. I've had the pleasure of listening to Ryan Deiss at a private mastermind just recently, and he was asked about digital products and said that, he doesn't see the industry going anywhere because digital products are essentially publishing, right? Publishing has been around.
Right.
There was a paper and pen or whatever they used to call it, cave drawings, that, publishing has been there. So it's not going to go away. But I've also talked to Jay Baer about this in an interview I did with him for the book. And one of the things that he said is that eventually he sees it as there's going to be a moment where it levels off. And what I mean by that is, at some point, I don't have the exact numbers, but let's take like McDonald's, for instance. I mean, people just ate McDonald's and whatever, and we just like consumed, and it wasn't thought of as a big deal. But eventually, what was the movie that came out where the guy ate McDonald's for like a month and
Super Size Me? Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody went, oh, wow.
Right.
That right there is a load of crap and we should not do that.
Yes.
It's kind of like that for, I think at some point our consumer relations are going to drop when people see that products are being put together that aren't being done well, or the message isn't being conveyed well, or the product isn't for them. You know what I'm saying?
Or it's trying to do too much.
Right. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of ways that, people can be dissatisfied with the course and with the product. And eventually that may lead to a bad taste in their mouth, basically. And so one of the things that Jay was saying is that he foresees it as an industry where eventually sales will plummet and then rise again. But only in that vein of the good will rise to the top. The people that are doing it well are going to have the success no matter what, right? Because they're putting together products that serve, they're putting together products that teach, they're putting together products that meet the marketing promises that they're making. So not to say that the industry is going to go away, but that some of the people that are putting together things that aren't meeting standards and that aren't getting completed, that's not going to be acceptable at some point. So I'd rather for people to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I say this very lovingly because I know the people who say this to us. They come to us and they say, I've taken X, Y, Z courses and I'm doing the math in my head and I'm like, okay, X, Y, and Z already is $6,000. Right. And then what's out in the world for you? It's like, where are you at with that? What have you implemented so far? What do we have to work with to shape and go and market with you? And it's like, well, no, nothing, and I say it very lovingly, but it's a sort of a shelf esteem. Like I put a product on my shelf and that makes me feel better and more informed and educated. And I can talk to this community. Like we've gone through this course together. There's some value in that, but in terms of direct ROI and building a business and actually getting that message out there, I mean, that self-esteem is not doing much for anybody.
Yeah. And part of that actually goes back to, at least my theory around this is we do what's been done. So we teach how we've been taught. And if you look at like the public school system in America, it's not designed for the purpose of expansion and growth. Not really. Like the first line in my introduction to teaching textbook was, the purpose of education is assimilation. Like, yes, your face is classic. I'm not kidding you. I was like, wow, I threw up a little bit when I read that.
Right.
I was like, oh gosh, this is horrible. I'm going to do it, differently. But, but if you look at the purpose of like traditional schools, the traditional school model was built to have people go into the military and people go into manufacturing. So it's a lot of sit down, a lot of be quiet, a lot of do what I say. If you follow directions, you'll learn, whatever. And now, caveat, there are amazing teachers that are doing it differently. But as a whole, we haven't changed the system. And as a whole, we haven't changed the understanding.
Yeah.
So that produces a lot of people that, oh, I took that test, I did that event, I did that whatever, and have, diddly squat to show for it. So your what was he call it? Shelf esteem?
Self-esteem. Yeah.
The shelf esteem has been, a part of us ever since we got the gold star in kindergarten. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Good
here's
point. Yeah, good point. Yeah. So what are some of the things that people are doing incorrectly? I'll just start out with some no-nos, some don't do this. What are some of the most glaring things that people are trying to do that don't create the traction, B, don't meet that promise that you made in your marketing, and C, don't create any transformation?
Okay. So can I rephrase that a little bit?
Sure, of course.
Okay. So instead of taking it from no-nos, can I give them suggestions? So I think one of the biggest suggestions that I would have for somebody that's creating a course, and I actually said this to my friend David last night that I was just telling you about it, and he went, what? One of my biggest suggestions for creating a course would actually now, after doing the research, is to write the copy before creating the course. So, yep, your face too. It did like that little Scooby-Doo head tilt.
Writing, okay, can you specify which copy?
The copy for the landing page, the sales page.
Oh, got it. Okay, interesting.
Right.
I like that.
So the process for me has now, since the research, has shifted into a place of course, target market identification, market research, understanding the pains, the hopes and dreams of your client, and then copy, and then course building. And the reason is there is a great deal of incongruency happening from the landing page to the course. And I don't think it's like intentional for the most part. I think it's a lack of understanding of copywriting. I think it's, miscommunication between the copywriter and the course creator, and then trying to find the piece that sells it. So like what's going to sell this? Well, that's not necessarily what I made, but that's what's going to sell this. So like, how do we bridge that divide? Uh-huh. But if we concentrate on their hopes and fears, I mean, that's essentially what goes into copy, right? So if we concentrate on that, put that into copy and realize that in that copy, you're making your promise of how you're going to take them from Sucksville to Awesome Town inside of that page. Now, all you have to do is live up to it.
From Sucksville to Awesome Town.
I stole that from Tim, by the way. That's not mine. But yes. Exactly.
So I think a lot of people do struggle here with that, identifying the pain points, identifying the benefit, and pairing those to the benefits of your teaching in your course. Right. What are some tips and techniques you've given your students on how to really identify and write the correct words that are going to really pop?
Right. And this is difficult because I am essentially not a copywriter. This is like my weakness. But
you know how to ask the right questions to the target audience, yes?
Yes.
Can I give you an example?
Sure.
Okay. So Dr. Fliss, if you're watching this episode, like I think you've watched every single episode and you're doing the homework. I love that. Mm-hmm. You're a Freedom Lab member extraordinaire. And you delivered, I gave you a challenge last week where I asked you to deliver your course promise. Mm-hmm. Dr. Fliss is specializing in helping people who are dealing with bullying in their workplace.
Okay.
So there's a bully in the workplace who makes them feel awful every day. They don't like going to work anymore. They're scared almost. Cyberbullying and just, interpersonal bullying. So she teaches them how to not only cope, but start thriving and get out of that energy, right? Mm-hmm. So what are some questions, or go ahead, like how would Dr. Fliss, let's make this like personal for her because she was a homework all-star. Okay. How would she go and start understanding more about those pain points and how to put those into words?
Sure. There's two different methods to it. I think one of the ones that you were alluding to is the ask method. from Ryan Levesque, of course, like asking the audience. The problem with this method, it's not the problem with the method, it's the problem with the interpretation of the method. Let me clarify that. The method is solid, but what's been happening is that people are asking smaller audiences and asking the wrong audiences those kinds of questions. In the book, Ryan lays out very specifically that it's a statistical understanding that the sample size has to be representative of the population. And really what that means in layman's terms is you got to ask enough people so that it gives you a good indication. Sorry, fire trucks going by. It gives you a good indication of what the whole population is going to do. You can't ask 5 of your friends that are not in your target market what they need and then build a course on it or build a something on it, or you know what I'm saying? Like it's got to be those people. He lays out inside of the book a couple of different things. He talks about if you have a list already, then you ask that current list, right? There's one way to do it because you've already got them. Right. If you don't have a list already, then you ask another person's list if it is your target market, right? If you're able to access that, or running Facebook traffic. I mean, he's really honest about it. He doesn't say ask 5 people on your Facebook feed and see what comes up with it. That's not really good advice. Right. That's what's being done. You know, that's what I'm seeing like time and time again. And it's kind of sad because people are going to end up creating things that nobody wants, right? Or maybe 2 people want, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is to serve much larger than that, especially if you're doing a course.
And I think in her case, she's studied it. She has a doctorate in it, but she's also coaching and consulting, you know, offline. And I think what she's trying to do is wrap that expertise up into a course. So it's similar to like when I was creating Launch 31, I had these conversations about people's pain points for years. It's relatively easy to start pulling those out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if she's got that kind of expertise and that kind of involvement already, she probably has a greater understanding of this than maybe she's appreciating in herself. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And
I don't know.
I think she probably appreciates it more. I don't know. Dr. Fliss, you'll have to respond to this.
But like, I mean, I'm probably saying she's probably already a rock star in this area. Yeah. Like, she's probably got this down. I would say that if she's done all of the studying behind it and she's been coaching and consulting for years, then she probably can, like, if she sat with it, figure out those pain points really quickly, you know. But for somebody that's not in that area, let's say you have an idea of who you want to serve and you haven't been doing it for years and you don't have, you know, the doctorate and the consulting practice and whatever, I think the best way to go is some good old fashioned market research on Amazon, honestly, and see, like, start looking into what's already been put out there. Start looking into 3-star reviews, not 5-star reviews or 1-star reviews. Like 1 star is like, I hate everything. And 5 star is probably their best friend. But 3-star reviews are pretty solid. And then the ones that wrote the most, you know, when you see like a really long paragraph, they took the time, they really thought about it. And they're like, hey, I've got a lot to share on this. When you start looking at those people that are already out there and that have solid products or have solid information that they're presenting, you know whose funnels to opt in. You can start identifying pain points of your target demographic by looking at the copy and then saying, does that resonate? You know? Right. So there's ways to look at it and research that way.
Okay. Yeah. And she watched one of our previous episodes, like all the others, and with you, and she's actually doing the seed launch format and asking a group of people who are ostensibly the target market, you know, what can I teach on this topic? So I think that's probably the third way is really shape it around this nucleus of people who, you know, need this work.
She's got a really good advantage, honestly. That's going to be a really good course.
Right. Okay. So that's one tip for something you can do better is I love that so write your landing page, right as if you're selling it, right as if you're talking about, because it's whenever you go to, whether it's a beta launch or seed launch or a real launch, you're going to have to sell it. So start with that, see if it lands, show it to some people. Is that kind of what you're saying, is show your landing page, show your copy to people?
I hadn't looked at that yet, honestly, but that's probably not a bad idea. Okay. You know, I was just saying create it and then hold up to the promise that you're offering.
Okay. So that's on the outside looking in of a course and matching the marketing to the promise.
Right.
Or actually the curriculum to the promise. What are some things that and now I'm inside your course, like I got in Course Creators Method, your course, all about how to create a course that people actually go through and experience a transformation through. Brilliant course. Woo! Yes. I love it. I love that you raised the price.
Oh, did I?
Just landed on it. Yes. It's a really, really great, valuable course. I was just looking at it over here. How to create courses that convert into cash. So what are a few tips on things that people can do within their curriculum to make it land?
Sure. First of all, something that goes against conventional wisdom or goes against conventional teaching or what we think about instruction. We assume that if somebody's listening to us, that if they want to, have this happen for them, that they should listen to us for however long we've got. And we really need to understand that attention spans are maybe 11 seconds now. They're less than the goldfish. So it's sad, but I notice it in myself too. Like LaShawn my partner sends me videos all the time and I'm like, I don't have 2 minutes right now. I can't sit through it.
Yeah.
No, but
this is your romantic partner. It's like
my partner in all things possible. I'm a business partner, romantic partner, and I still can't watch the videos. So, anyways, but we have to look at like time as a major factor. So how fast can you say the one thing that they need and then move into their action? There's a method. I think it comes from like a Chinese way of or instruction, or it's basically that the student should do more than the teacher. And we've got it flipped around. Like if you look at online courses, it's a lot of like me talking head and then you sitting still and, please absorb my wisdom. And then you will have whatever you'll have, what did you call it again?
Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. Exactly. But no action. But if you flip that, if the student is working harder than the teacher, then when they're done, they're going to have a something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and if you look at my course, it's like, it really is entirely done in that way. It's a super short course as far as amount of videos, amount of time in each video. But then if you look at it and you follow the procedures inside of it, you're going to have, one lesson done. And now you just repeat the process. Next lesson done, next lesson done, next lesson done. So,
it's always interesting to me. Like people really get fixated on the length. Like, like some of our clients who are creating online courses ask us to tell them, how long should my product launch videos be? How long should my course module videos be? And I always want to say, like, you on the other hand, you do have a fixed number. I know, because I took your course. You have a minute length barrier that you don't want to go across, and you scolded me on Launch 31 because I definitely went across that frequently. But I also see some other instructors out there like a Brendan Burchard, who's able to pull it off for me. Right. And so I want to say, like, it depends, but I also want to say, well, according to Dr. Carrie Rose, don't go above 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's not actually for me. I didn't make up the number. It comes from Seminars platform it's a learning management system out in Austin, Texas that Deepak Chopra runs his courses through. And they did some studies to see when people fell off the videos, and they fall off around 7 minutes. So I would suggest 3 to 5, to be safe. And then also, like, what you're looking at is edutainment. When you're talking about how you can listen to Brendan Burchard for an extended period of time, well, you're into what he's saying. He's got, a certain je ne sais quoi, like it's something else added that it's hard to say when you're doing your first course if you have that yet. Yes. So if this is your first course, it's better to stay on the side of, let me try it the short video way and do multiple videos. There's nothing wrong with multiple videos.
Yeah. So like with Brendan, it's on one level, you're filling your mind with a lot of great insight and his expertise. On the other level, on the deeper level, spiritual level, you walk away with like, okay, I came into this at like a 6 out of 10. Now I'm 9 out of 10. I'm ready to take over the world, like that. Right. Yeah. That sort of empowerment or imbued energy comes across. So it's a lot more intoxicating than a brain fill.
And we all have different things to offer, and we don't have to be Brendan in order to offer those,
Amen.
but to recognize that, people are going to stay glued to those of us that are, and that won't see those of us that aren't. And there's no way to tell if you are or you aren't, until you get going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's hard. And, I've had conversations with with Michael Savage, who works with Tony Robbins directly, about this point in particular. And he and I even came up with the theory of, it's possible to have somebody else film your course for you. There may be people out there that don't necessarily need the personal brand, but they have something that they want to offer, and that in that, is there somebody else that's a part of your team that could film it for you? Do you need a voiceover actress, or something like else to add that side? Is a purpose to serve? Is a purpose to serve you? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't have that je ne sais quoi, or, very edutaining
Yes.
Personality, then write all your curriculum down and have someone else share it, teach it over slides. Yep.
There's no shame in it.
Right.
There's no shame. I mean, if the point is to serve people, and if you've got something that needs to help them, then you need to get it out there regardless.
Right. Where do you see most potential curriculum developers getting stuck?
This is interesting. I've actually changed my proprietary process around, because I think more of the stuck is in the actual execution of it than anything else. I've added a whole heart component to the process. So we go through the hands, which is the basics of curriculum, the head, which is more of the stuff that I add with the research and education and the research and course completion rates, and the heart, which is all the execution and getting it out there. Yeah. It's so interesting. I've had client after client that, not all of them, but quite a few that haven't finished, that just haven't, not that we haven't run their curriculum, but haven't gone through with it. And I don't know what that part is that does that. I have clients come to me that I'm more helping them with their own self-doubt, and recognizing that they have something is he guilty?
Well, it's something that Max and I talk about a lot. Max is like a dedicated studier of the thought leadership market, and talks with, he's kind of like a counselor for a lot of our clients, because that thing comes up, that self-doubt, that fear of being seen, am I going to be good enough stuff comes up a lot. And it's like you're saying, it's the most critical element. And in fact, my buddy Travis Shields over here, shoot videos that sell, he does all of Brendan's stuff. Mm-hmm. He was saying, I've got all these people focusing on the tech. I'm going to have to add in my next wave of this course. I'm doing exactly what you're talking about, is working on how to get people comfortable with this notion of being on camera. Right. Similar thing. It's just like the, hi, same concept, hi, my brain, my wisdom is out here, and you might think it sucks.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple of things that can help there. A teleprompter, but
True.
Not the apps, just the true one. But it's interesting. I actually had something the other night where somebody introduced me as a motivational speaker, and I was like, "What?" I didn't say anything then because it wouldn't have been polite. But later, I even posted on Facebook. I'm like,
"Yes,
guys, am I a motivational speaker? What? How did I miss this?" But then a lot of people were like, "Yeah, isn't that what you do? Isn't that part of who you are?" And it's so inside my own head, I have this thing that's not a part of who I am. I have this thing against myself. It's disempowering to me, and so I'm just sharing this to say that if you're going through that or you're feeling that way, I even have it, and people are seeing me as a motivational speaker,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I think
there are very few people. You're definitely not alone if you're experiencing that. There's very few people who don't have that little, am I good enough here? I mean, I can't think of one.
Right.
Not inside the minds of everybody out there, but I can't think of one person who doesn't have that. So what are some things you're going to be have you already implemented the heart-based support?
Yeah. So we've started doing intensives. So instead of, I had been doing things where it would be like long distance coaching. So clients all over the world, and I would, work one-on-one with them, but like through a Zoom or through Skype or whatever. And now I'm more of, okay, you fly to Orlando or I fly to you, and we get everything done. And if they come to Orlando, there's a filming component in it, and then I upload it for them too, so that they don't have any option not to. Yeah. And then we hand them their funnel done, and then templated series out the door. So everything's like, here you go, and here's our tech guy that can run this for you, and so that it's no longer an option or an I don't know how, or I need to take one more course in order to be able to. It's like, no, here's your stuff, go.
Right.
Quite literally, once you have, like, in the platform, in the learning management system platform that I use, Thinkific, like literally there's a landing page inside of it. Mm-hmm. Like, you can just give them the link to the landing page for your course and have them hit, buy now. That's it. It's not as complicated as it used to be. So there's just no reason not to finish, but people have their own reasons not to finish.
Right. Well, is that all included in the course creators method, or is that an add-on, the intensives?
The intensives are more either one-on-one coaching, or I do groups of up to 12. So that's something different. The course creators method is really just more of the process that goes through the market research, the target market identification, deciding what course you're going to build, and then into the proprietary process that I've created about like how to get people to learn. Right. And then that also includes 3 hours of one-on-one coaching with me as well, so that they get, some of their booty kicked.
Yes. No, I can't rave about this course enough. There's, like I said, there's nobody I've seen out there teaching to this level of how to develop and create curriculum and match it to those pain points of your audience, and making sure that they go through that transformation process. Like Carrie teaches in the course creators method. I have so much respect for what you've put together. People can find out about it at brandlegend.us.
Yes.
Brandlegend.us. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see a place to purchase some training. I'm sure you'll make that more visible as this gets out there in a broader way. But at least opt in for their swipe files on ways that you can start articulating creating the framework for your course, and stop wasting money. It sounds like LaShawn's going to be adding some elements of that in there.
Yes. Yeah. It's really like, how can we get you to launch as fast as possible?
Exactly.
Which is where you're at too. It's like, how do we get them up and going and making money? That's it.
Yeah, without cutting corners, without cutting corners and leaving people in a gap of, this isn't anywhere near as good as I thought it would be.
Exactly, right? That
too. Both of you are very, very heart-based entrepreneurs. I would love to wrap up with a story of someone who's inspired you with changing their life or their dynamic or their business with a course, so with an online course or a curriculum.
All right. Let me think.
Does that put you on the spot too much?
Change. Yeah. Honestly, because I think most of the people I've been working with have been already established in some way or another. So I'm trying to go through, like, I think, was it Pete Vargas who was talking about his story? It's not somebody that I directly worked with, but he went from starting his business, and then in 1 year, he built his speaking business. He built his online course. He knew how to scale his business, not just speaking from stages, but then like, how do you scale it past that? And was able to turn it from an idea into $1 million in a year. So that's a huge one. Yeah. But Pete's such an amazing person. If you look at his backstory, he did Rachel's Challenge before that, which I had actually had experience with when I was in the public school setting. So he had spent like 13 years of his life honing that craft. It wasn't like he just came up with the idea of selling from stage. He had been working with Rachel's Challenge for 13 years prior and getting them on stages all over, the United States. I think they had done, I don't know how many stages at that point, but really beautiful story. Pete probably tells it a lot better than I do. But the thing is, it's not just a course. If you look at your business as just one course, that's not that's not what does the whole thing. You know, like the course is one piece, the course is how we scale, the course is how you don't have to clone yourself in order to serve everybody.
Right.
But it's all like how the pieces fit together that really make that great of an impact.
Yeah, and a big thing you talk about in Course Creators Method, if I could just do one more plug, is that we, you know, as servants, as people who are trying to serve and uplift humanity with our courses, I hope that's you.
Yeah.
We want people to go through in order for them to get their transformation, right? Like to see that celebratory, I get it, I feel so much better, or in our case, I launched my website, my marketing system's up in the world. Right. Oh my God, I was struggling so much with this, and it's done. Right. Love that moment. And from a business standpoint, not only is that going to create goodwill and positive mojo and people talking about your course, but it also puts people in a position to do exactly what Carrie's talking about, is go to that next level. You're talking about a scaled business or what's your next step business. Speaking from stage, you have a course, you have a mastermind, you have places to go from there, coaching programs, etc. If people don't go through the course, then why would they go and choose the next level in your business or your next solution in your business? And so from a strictly a monetization perspective, you will make more money when people complete your courses and experience what you've promised.
Right. Definitely. When you're able to serve them, you know, I mean, Tony Robbins says it like I'm going to mess up this quote exactly, but you know, if you basically, the more people you help, the more money you have. You know, he says, except for teachers, firefighters, and police officers.
I'm laughing, but that's kind of sad. My wife is a teacher, so
I did it for years. I understand. I understand, but you know, our purpose here is to help, is to serve, and to lift others up. And if you keep that focus in mind, you're going to do great.
Yeah.
You know,
all right.
Do more. More good.
What's that?
You're do more good. How does it go?
It goes love more, play more, do more good.
Here it is. You're wearing the
t-shirt.
Awesome.
So listen, I want to remind people where they can find out more about you. This is not even like an affiliate deal. This is just, I love what Carrie's doing, and I love her fiance LaShawn. They're doing some amazing things to help people out in the world, and I couldn't give you more compliments. It's just, I mean, and more faith that you'll be in good hands with them. So go check them out at brandlegend.us, and the Course Creators Method. A-OK 5-star reviews from Jam over here at Peaceful Media.
Thank you, Jam. We feel the same way about you. Like you're our tribe. You're our people.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So until we see you next time in the Freedom Lab, Jam at Peaceful Media, remember to love more, play more, and do more good. This is season 2 of the Freedom Lab, freedomlabshow.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel below, and find us over at peacefulmedia.com. All right. Peace, y'all. Wee, 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 wee.